So I talk about abundant systems, but what does an abundant community look like? Welcome back to the Idea Supply Chain, where we take a look at where ideas come from and what makes those ideas valuable. Today, I wanted to explore the idea of abundant communities. And so this is a group of people working together in an abundant system. And this is something I've really been thinking about, and I'm getting ready to start implementing within a community that I'm currently in, and then one that I'm going to be building out alongside my Substack newsletter. So, starting from kind of first principles thinking, the way I look at it is an abundant community has to have something they can use to create value. Now, this might be knowledge, um, but in this case, I'm really thinking about a toolkit that people in the community can use to add value, add wealth to the community. And so the first tool that I've put in this toolkit is something. It's you put in a YouTube video and a desired audience, and you can create a blog post for that audience based on the information in the video. And one of the things I want to be careful with here with this product is I don't want it to be something that's used to steal people's videos and just like put that information out into blogs. Instead, I'm trying to view this as an abundant tool. So, for example, I'm in a mental health community around the Lobel Spark podcast. And a lot of those interviews are discussions about the effect of mental health and how it affects people and in their daily lives. And so one of the things that I really want to do is I want to extract some of this information and put it into blog posts that community members can access and find value in, and then ultimately lead them to the the interviews, the discussions that they care about based on what they're struggling with right now. And so this is a very human-centric model of content, right? Um, we talk about content and the need to create and build an audience and all that. But I actually look at it in terms of what information are we sharing with people? How are they using that? What do they need help with? And how can they find it easier? And so for this, what I want to do is I want to give community members a tool that they can use and kind of a set of guidelines. Hey, I want you to use this tool to find ideas, and you're watching YouTube videos anyway. Let's convert those into a blog post for a different audience. Let's find somebody who could benefit from these ideas and then link back to that original video, because then what you're doing, you're taking that information, you're packaging it up for someone different, and you're leading it back to the original content, which then creates a trail. And a lot of times people think backlinks and they think, oh, search engine optimization. I think that's done for. The way I look at it is the internet's going to act more just like a complete web. Like you go down a rabbit hole and you kind of keep going. You keep going to the next item in the list based on what you're looking for. You go as deep as you want to go, but there's always kind of a next level deeper. And so when we're looking at how content can be used, I think it's important to link back to the source content and say, hey, I got this from this. I converted it into this. And you know what? I think there are probably going to be some people complaining, oh, you can't take that information, like you can't take those ideas, which is why I'm really focusing in on very specific communities with this, very specific usages. And then I'll set up a way for people to be able to opt out of it because, ultimately I do respect people's wishes. Like if they don't want their stuff used, fine, but they're going to end up losing out because they're not getting that backlink, right? And so I want to kind of build some things out to more or less enforce some of these links and kind of basically have an opinionated set of rules around the tools and how they're used. And so by doing this, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use the kind of revenue from this tool to then fund the conversion of the community's videos into blog posts and do all of that. And so what we have is we have something that benefits the community. We have kind of a set cost, and we have a way for community members to contribute without having to put in money. Like that's one of the things with the mental health community. You don't want people to have to pay necessarily, right? Because, first of all, money is one of the leading issues contributing to bad mental health, because When you don't have money, everything else is really downhill from there. And unfortunately, I understand that all too well. I've been in a lot of situations where I don't have the money I need available, and so you kind of have to scramble. You kind of get forced into very short term thinking. And so what I want to do is I want to give people a way to kind of um, build on this and say, hey, you can actually make money with this. Here's some tools. You can kind of build even like a small business, small agency around this, whatever you want to do. And then have people in the community kind of share what they're doing and how they're doing it, contribute tools and things like that. So that's kind of one aspect of the abundant community. The second part of the abundant community I've been looking at is really this idea of basically providing credit. And so if you have a community with a bank account, which, sometimes people refer to DAOs or decentralized autonomous organizations like that. But in this case, I think it's going to be more true because there's going to be kind of this core business aspect, right? This toolkit that's generating revenue. And so we're using that to, kind of convert some of the content from one form to another. But when that's done, ideally the money is still building up, right? So what can it be used for? Well, one of the things that I've noticed, especially in this mental health community, but I think actually among creators as a whole, is a lot of people are becoming coaches. And specifically around ADHD. ADHD coaches help, and we have a number of those coaches in our community. And sometimes people need that help, but they can't necessarily afford that help when they need it, right? And so sometimes to overcome an obstacle and get to a point where you're able to be contributing to the community, you need to overcome some obstacles. And so what I want to do is kind of set up almost like a credit system. Hey, which service providers are willing to help out for free for now, and basically just track it. And then as the community, starts building up resources, the community can go ahead and pay those funds to the coach or whatever service provider, whatever service they provide, in order to make sure that somebody is getting the help they need as soon as they need it and not having to put that off. Because what that's doing is that's really delaying the kind of way they can, um, contribute in the future. Like I want to get people up to a stable place as soon as I can. Like I don't want people to have to wait and try to scrounge together the money when they need help now. So that's kind of the second piece. So, we've got the first piece, which is the product, the second piece, which is kind of the service providers on credit, and, being willing to provide that. And then the community can hopefully kind of take over. And then once it grows enough, it can actually pay the service providers as needed. And then the final step that I've really been thinking about lately, and this is something that'll remain to be seen, but it's the idea of community as insurance. And so there are a lot of things that people don't want to risk because they're not sure how it'll turn out. But if you have the ability to provide insurance to say, hey, here's a safety net. You know what? If you want to try something, we've got you if you fail. And honestly, I kind of see that just by the basis of like offering tools, right? You give people a way to create some sort of revenue stream and do that. But once the community offerings kind of grow enough, I think there's a great opportunity to really provide even more financial support on top of that. And if you've read the blog post that I wrote on an experiment in human value, that's ultimately what I'm trying to kind of raise money for, because I do believe in this concept of abundant systems, and you give people a place of stability to work from, and they can do some really incredible things. And so that's kind of the third stage, which we'll see. I don't know. We'll see how it ends up, growing. But I've been able to create a lot of tools really quickly. And so I was thinking, like, what if we can do this in a way where people can use these? There's kind of a set unit cost. The margin from the initial tool exists, but it goes back into the community to be kind of this abundant system that pays it forward, builds the community as a whole, and really strengthens the relationships. So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.